Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall, with the South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. Thanks for watching. During this episode, we're going to take you on a journey from the farm to the school and tell you about a neat story of special needs kids who got involved with agriculture and now have developed that into an agribusiness throughout their county. We'll also visit the University of South Carolina and introduce you to the First Lady of the campus and talk about healthy eating and healthy cooking. All that and more coming up in just a moment as Voices of Agriculture continues. Hello and welcome back to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall. Thanks for watching. As we promised, we're going to go on a tour today from farm to school and tell you about a specific school in Summerville, South Carolina, where a group of special needs children began a program 5 years ago to grow produce on the school campus. That program has now grown where they sell produce to their school cafeteria and to other schools in their county. Here's their story. Before we take you to Summerville, South Carolina's Ashley Ridge High School, it's best to tell you a little bit about the state's Farm to School program, administered nationally through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Here in South Carolina, the program is coordinated by Dr. Holly Herron, who explains the mission of the program.
Really, the mission of Farm to School is to connect school children with local farmers in order to improve school food nutrition. And so with that, we would like to reduce obesity risk among school children by giving them access to local foods that they may not have had the opportunity to try previously. And on the flip side of that, it's as well an economic strategy to increase market opportunities for our small and our medium-sized farmers in South Carolina.
The program began in the state with 52 schools enrolled. Another 37 schools were added the second year, as well as 9 child care centers. Farmers who participate in the Farm to School program can choose to sell their produce to schools through food distributors, or they can go through an intensive General Agricultural Practices, or GAP, certification process and sell directly to the school.
GAP certification really stresses food safety. So that is a major component. In order for a farmer to become GAP certified, he has to have a food safety manual in place, which documents all of his practices, from planting to picking to packing.
The school we'll visit today was the first school in South Carolina to become GAP certified. Ashley Ridge High School near Charleston, South Carolina in Summerville was founded in 2008. As it was being built, Ashley Ridge Athletic Director Coach Bobby Bear, who has produced nationally ranked athletes and award-winning turf grass, saw an opportunity to carve out a place alongside the building for a school garden.
From a grant program that got us all the tables, the tiller, all the equipment that I needed, and Keith and those guys through Clemson and through the Department of Ag kind of gave us a punch list. Here's some things you're going to need. You get an ag teacher in, he's going to need this in order to teach the class and carry it forward. So what we did from there is I looked in on the curriculum online, from greenhouse production, landscape design, horticulture. Inside the horticulture piece of it, you get to do sports turf, greenhouse, landscape. And so the introductory class is going to be horticulture, but you're going to taste a little bit of everything to include the gardening. So I said, well, if we can do one garden, let's do more. I've got land. And if you're not careful in education, when there's a piece of land somewhere, they'll take it for something. So if you've got dibs on it, then that's good.
Bear also used his ingenuity as a coach to manage his resources at the school and within the community. For example, once he put the word out that a few loads of dirt for the garden would cost about $36,000, a student called his contractor dad. Bear called the county, and a deal was arranged for the county to haul dirt from a construction site to the garden at no cost to the school. It also helped that Bear has a very supportive administrator, Ashley Ridge principal Karen Radcliffe.
We've been able to incorporate so many different students with so many different skill sets out enjoying something that they love. They've had an opportunity to see things grow. They've seen the fruits of their labor. they've been able to feed an entire campus of kids. So that's a really neat opportunity for us.
The Ashley Ridge High School mascot is the Swamp Fox, named after famed Revolutionary War officer and South Carolina native Francis Marion. So it's only fitting that the garden bear the name the Swamp Fresh Garden. The Farm to School Swamp Fresh Garden clearly has each of the Farm to School's 4 components.
You know, Farm to School in South Carolina is defined by 4 components. Our participating schools agree to source at least 2 South Carolina grown fruits and vegetables per month to be served as a part of the school lunch. They then agree to promote South Carolina grown in the school cafeteria. So the Department of Agriculture gives them signage, SC grown, and they can label their products just to sort of build that recognition among the school children as to what is South Carolina grown. They are also asked to integrate nutrition and agriculture education into classroom activities. And this can be formal curriculum that our Clemson regional coordinators have previously developed. It can be ag in the classroom, it can be taste testings, and it can be field trips, so very flexible. And then 4th, they're asked to establish a school vegetable garden. Not necessarily as extensive as Ashley Ridge, but a garden, whether it's a container garden, a raised bed garden, or an in-ground garden, an opportunity for the children to get out there and experience what it's like to grow a fruit or a vegetable, and then the opportunity to taste it and harvest it, and all those learning experiences that go on with that.
We'll tell you more about the Ashley Ridge Farm to School program when we continue in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture from South Carolina. Let's return back to Summerville, South Carolina and Ashley Ridge High School to learn more about their Farm to School program. We're talking about the Ashley Ridge High School Farm to School Garden, started by the school's athletic director, assistant principal, and coach, Bobby Bear. He had the vision to claim a piece of the land next to the school when it was being built for the purpose of starting a garden at the school.
It's not until you get involved with your cafeteria manager, you know, and then she can start saying, well, here's the stuff we're using. If you can grow that, then that would be an asset to us. So it's kind of, again, we go back hand in hand. What can I grow out here that we can use? And it's all, from a school, it's all right at your feet. The kids can take it over to her, you know, and then it ended up being that we could sell it. So now we can try to keep everything. The money stays within the district. That's just the way I look at it. And it comes back in to fund what we're trying to do back at the school.
Not only did the coach have a vision for a school garden and lay claim to the land, he also worked hard to get a grant and community support to help fund the project. Soon after the garden was up and running with volunteer help and the help of a part-time ag teacher, a special needs teacher at the school, Irene Mazel, had a few of her special needs students express an interest in growing plants.
Coach Bear, our athletic director, had some tomato plants, and so he let us help with the upkeep, and they were just outside of the classroom. So then we got a horticulture program the next year. They had the greenhouse, and we just were able to come out and visit with them a little bit. And when we didn't have a program last year, some of the students were still wanting to participate, so we asked if we could just get some of the leftovers.
Ms. Mazel started with 13 special needs students to grow a garden that now produces upwards of 3,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables every year. And the number of students involved in the project has also grown.
It just sort of snowballed. Special services came in and thought, well, this is a great project for the kids. Let's add a little bit of money to it. Another one of our rival high school sent over their building construction class, and they built the shed for us. So it was started out just purely donations.
With all different backgrounds, with all different learning styles, they all come together in this environment, and they do a beautiful job. And I think that's what's neat, is that whole team effort.
And that was a big, big eye-opener for me. Kids with Down syndrome, autism, you know, muscular dystrophy, I mean, they're all trying. They'll do what they can do, and that was the real neat piece of it all. I mean, when you get a kid out there that's, you know, especially Down syndrome, you know, Dontrell. When I had Dontrell, he would lean on my shoulder because he had a hard time. He's heavy, he had a hard time. He would breathe real hard when he was down, but he would not stop. He would keep going, and he'd look back at me and say, Coach Bear, come on, let's go, let's go. You know, and just start dogging me about let's keep planting and all. I said, all right, let's roll.
And so they're a great example for a high school because they really work it into their agriculture classes as well as biology. And so a lot of upper level classes use that garden as a learning tool as well.
In addition to the learning element of the Swamp Fresh Garden, it's also great to have a place that will cook the fruits of the students' labor. That's where Debbie Filomarino comes in. She's the school's food service manager who oversees the cafeteria staff and the implementation of the fresh-grown produce into the daily menus. The school cafeteria feeds about 2,000 people a day.
Not only do our special needs kids work in the garden, but we have our AP science and biology kids who are working in the garden. To see them work together and then to branch out to all of the other students, it is a sense of pride. When you've got your school pride because your football team, you've got your school pride because of your softball team, these kids have school pride because of their garden.
Ms. Debbie, the mother of a special needs child, understands that it takes constant effort to communicate with high school students, and you have to speak their language using their tools.
I am very active and interactive with the kids. I attack them with social media because that's the way they communicate. So I have to educate myself and get out there in the social media with them. I'm out in that cafeteria every day. Over half the population knows me by my face and by my name. They know that I'm going to communicate with them. They know that their opinion matters. And if they want something, we're going to do our very best to incorporate it into their cafeteria. It's not my kitchen, it's theirs.
And what the school can't use typically goes home with underprivileged students to take home and eat.
A lot of my students have never eaten fresh vegetables. So they were amazed that we could wash things off right here with the hose and cut them and eat them while we're standing there in the garden. But they got to take it home also, and some of the students said that their parents said they wanted to start little gardens at home because they noticed the difference in how these fresh vegetables and the strawberries tasted compared to what they buy in the stores.
The garden has even become a status place to be and work, so much so that students would do most anything to be assigned to work out there.
It was, I'm sure Coach Bear probably mentioned about the students who were in school suspension, that sometimes we needed some extra hands out here, and some of the students who were then deliberately cutting class to get into ISS so they could come out and work the garden. But to watch them work with my students, and it was just pairing up students who we never thought would be working together, and seeing them appreciate what our students were doing.
Thanks to Coach Bear and his work to secure funding, Ashley Ridge now has a full-time agriculture teacher. Ben Gibson is halfway through his first year and loves the concept of a working school garden.
You can go to a biology class, you can go to an earth science class, or environmental science class, and they'll tell you everything you want and you can read all about it. But out here, you're able to actually put your hands on it, you're able to see it happen before your eyes. So you put seed in the ground, then a week later, there's a little plant. 2 months later, you're getting, a crop from it, and everything in between.
In fact, Ben is already looking ahead and setting goals for the future of the program.
One thing we want to do is, number one, is to become self-sustaining, where we're producing, we're making the money, and the money goes right back in, and we don't have to go to outside sources. We're not there yet. I'm hoping that's going to be in a couple of years. We're going to be able to make that happen to where we don't have to rely on someone else. And then we're also looking at doing a 3-stage garden, all the way from mass production to just simply pesticide-free to fully organic.
Well, I hope you found that story from Ashley Ridge High School as enlightening as I did. What a great story about these young people who got their agribusiness started and continue to thrive now with a full horticulture program at the school. When we come back in a moment, we'll go to the University of South Carolina and introduce you to First Lady Patricia Moore-Pastidies. We'll go in the kitchen and find out what she's got cooking and why public health is one of her top priorities. We're here on the University of South Carolina campus in the demonstration kitchen of the Discovery Building with First Lady of the University, Patricia Moore-Pastidies. Thanks for your time today.
Oh, I'm delighted to be with you.
Well,
Thanks for inviting me.
We're delighted to have you, and I see some delicious ingredients here, and you're going to cook for us. What are you going to make?
We are. I'm going to make feta saganaki, which is a really simple recipe and actually can be used in a number of different dishes.
Okay.
So today we're going to make it's kind of like a warm bruschetta, and we're going to end up putting it on toast. But what it is we start off with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in our pan, a couple of tablespoons. And if this is my olive oil container here.
Bottle.
So this is an old champagne bottle. And the reason I use it for olive oil is I buy my oil in a can because I use quite a bit of it.
Right.
And I understand that sunlight breaks down the nutrients in olive oil. So that's why I buy it in a nice dark can.
Right.
And then I decant it into my nice dark bottle so that I have a way to use it more easily. So what I'm going to do is basically warm up my olive oil. And you know, olive oil has great salubrious properties. And I talk about some of these things in my book. But basically, they've done studies that have shown that people with high blood pressure who change nothing else about their diet except their salad dressing, from sort of an American ranch style to an olive oil and vinegar, see their blood pressures go down.
And you mentioned your book, too. I think that's a great part about the book. I was reading through some of the previews earlier. And one of the points that I like about the book is it talks about the need not to have to follow a dieting plan. If you incorporate things like olive oil and other great Mediterranean area ingredients, your health's going to improve.
That's right. And I always the first thing I tell people when I'm talking about the Mediterranean diet is that it's not a diet that we think of, and about losing weight. It's more of a lifestyle. So I've just put in here a couple of cans of canned tomatoes. Now, if it were summer, we would be at the garden picking our tomatoes to use. But this is a great use of these tomatoes for, you can get organic ones that are not grown with any chemicals or pesticides or things like that. The next thing I'm going to add is quite a bit of dried oregano. Take a whiff of this. Isn't it great?
It is.
It's dried Greek oregano. It's used a lot in the Mediterranean. It kind of just grows in that acrid soil. And when you study herbs, you find out the health benefits of herbs and plants. And so oregano is thought to be antifungal, anti-parasitic, antibacterial, antiviral. It's kind of like, I said, we should be putting this on our breakfast cereal, So anyway, I'm going to put quite a bit in here. I think in the recipe I wrote probably 2 teaspoons, and I might even do a little bit more than that. And I just I like to put it in with my fingers, which, we've washed our hands before we started. Those folks didn't see that, but we did. But the reason I like to do that is because just by giving it that little smash between your fingers brings a lot of the flavor out.
That are in there.
That's right. We're just going to let this cook down, and the goal here is to see all this liquid that's in here from the tomatoes. The goal is to have that evaporate, so that what we're doing, we've just kind of got that condensed tomato flavor with the olive oil and the oregano. And then I'll tell you what we're going to do after we get through with that.
Now we've got the cookbook that is fairly recently come out. It's a fairly new book.
It came out in September 2010.
Okay.
So it's a couple of years now.
Right.
But
and you're working on another project.
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that.
I have another Greek revival coming out next May. It's again going to be published by the University of South Carolina Press.
Right.
This one is going to be titled Greek Revival from the Garden, Growing and Cooking for Life. And the press has decided that we should release this as part of their young adult series. So I'm so thrilled because I've written it addressing teenagers with the idea that if we start these wonderful positive lifestyle habits at a younger age, then we don't have to change in midlife and sort of reform.
Well, President's House at the University of South Carolina is on the historic horseshoe.
Right.
And you've started a garden there.
We have. We have a vegetable garden, all organic.
Wow.
We compost the brown trimmings from the yard, along with our kitchen trimmings, vegetables. We put coffee grounds and eggshells.
University has also, there's a gardener on staff who's kind of on his own started all these raised beds around the
Well,
university.
you know, Charlie Ryan works at the President's House Garden, and he helps with the botanicals and also with the vegetables.
Right.
And then he does the front of the house on the Horseshoe and around the Russell House as well. So, you know, he's got a pretty big job, and yet he's been very involved with a lot of groups on campus. They started with a small garden, and then they got a grant that allowed us to create 20 raised beds.
How about that?
And so the beds are located very close to our President's House garden, because that way we can share the irrigation and we can share the composting systems.
Right.
So the way the raised beds are distributed is that people sign up, and it has to be at least 4 people working one bed. And they can be 4 individuals, or they can represent a club or organization on campus.
Right.
And they can be students, faculty, or staff.
How about that?
And theirs are also organic.
Yeah.
And it's great fun, and we've had a lot of success with that. They look beautiful, and you know, it's nice to see people gardening. And then as a result of that, the fellows who work in facilities decided that they wanted to have raised beds down near their building where they work. So they called Charlie Ryan down to give them advice. See, we're getting closer here. You can see there's more oil and less water. So we're getting closer to what we want. I'm just going to kind of crank this up again for maybe another minute or two, and we should be ready then to add the final ingredient, which is going to be feta cheese.
Wow.
And surprisingly, feta cheese is pretty low in sodium, and I like to use a sheep's milk cheese because I think it has a really beautiful flavor. You know, when we have a farmer's market here on campus every Tuesday, and when I've been out there meeting with people, we'll usually bring vegetables from our garden and we'll give them away. And I'll talk with folks, and you know, people will tell me, growing up in South Carolina, we lived on vegetables the whole summer.
That's right.
And I said, and that's probably the reason why your grandparents lived so long. So this is about the stage where we want to add the
that looks
cheese.
great, yes.
So you can see it's really
It's
just
cooked down,
tomatoes
yeah,
and
yeah.
a little bit of olive oil there.
It looks delicious.
And then we're just going to break this cheese up. I think we'll just use my fingers here.
And again, this is sheep's.
This is sheep's milk feta. You can buy these locally in the supermarkets, and we also have great local feta cheese. Let's give it another little shot of oregano. I just want to give that a turn. And then actually,
but how easy is this?
I
You
know.
we've talked for several minutes while we've been while you've been making it, and it has taken hardly any time, no effort at all.
right. And you know, when you use good ingredients, you don't really need a lot of ingredients, I think.
That's right.
I'm going to put my little garnish on
nice.
here just to
And that came
cover
out
up
of your
this little
garden
drip.
too?
That's my little oregano from my garden. It sure is.
It's really kind of getting back to the basics. It's getting back to the ingredients that are close to the land. It's that whole Mediterranean flair of foods that help make you healthier. And I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your commitment to health and to making people healthier.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the new cookbook coming out in May of 2013,
Correct. Yeah.
which is written for maybe more of the novice who's wanting to garden, as well as get into cooking and learn all the tools and tips that you need to know to be able to do that.
And I plan with the second one, just as I've done with the first, to donate the royalties that I would receive back to the university
Oh, how
for
wonderful.
health and sustainability projects on campus.
Well, there you go.
So people
even more
can
reason to buy it.
feel when they buy it that they're making a small donation
Yeah.
to the university. So we appreciate that.
How awesome. The First Lady of the University of South Carolina, thank you so much for
You're
joining us.
welcome.
We appreciate it so much.
It's been my pleasure.
We'll be back in just a moment. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. Thanks for watching. If something we've shared with you during the last 30 minutes has piqued your interest, log on to our website, scfb.org, and click on video in the upper right-hand corner. You can learn more about this show and watch archived programs that we've produced in the past. Or like us on Facebook, South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. Follow us on Twitter if you'd like. But thanks for watching. We hope you've learned something and been enlightened by the stories we've told in this episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Reggie Hall.